Next on the agenda is a 4K contract consideration and action.
Enclosed in your board packet is a proposed contract between Spooner Area School District and providers for 4-year-old kindergarten for 2013-14. Had a recent pre-registration to see what the interest would be for 4-year-old kindergarten. We had about 20 students sign up. There is another sign-up scheduled for next week, pending if the board approves these contracts. We end up with fewer children than were originally predicted, because we originally predicted approximately 70 kids. The initial cost report would be much different. The actual expenditures would be lower, and we would have to see what we would do with transportation. We would only have contracts with providers as needed, depending on the number of students that registered for the 4-year-old kindergarten.
I move we approve the 4K contract.
I have questions on the 4K program.
We have to have a second first, then we can do
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion?
Thank you. We have an opting in and opting out issue at this school, and the data is pretty remarkable in that it seems to be increasing from certainly last year to this year. I think the cumulative is 193 out and 50 or so in, and that's worse than it was last year. So my concern is that we're not addressing the opting in and opting out issue, but we're adding more people to the mix. And we don't really know why there's more people opting out. And even our strategic planning committee said that is probably one of our major concerns this coming year, is this opting out issue. If you look at the data, it says that most of them are coming out of the elementary school. I mean, it isn't even close. The middle school is doing rather well. The high school, I think, doing even better. But most of these people are opting out of the elementary school. Why is that happening? And it's not really been addressed. So I have concern that we're now pushing more people in through the system when there seems to be quite a few people unhappy with it already. Is that going to cause more people to opt out? I don't think, again, the question's not even been asked, let alone answered. And again, my concern is we shortcut the process, the procedures that we're supposed to go through. It's not what we do, it's how we do it. And again, basic fundamental questions haven't even been asked. Another question that I have is, I talked to Mike Markram when I became a board member, and he said on the financial picture he thought we'd probably be running out of money in a couple of years, and that we would have to be okay for a couple of years. Well, we're not going to even get any cash flow out of this program for 5 years. So what are we going to do in 2 years when we're running out of money generally, and now we've incurred this additional program and this additional debt? And again, the questions have not even been asked. And no one seems to be concerned about the process of actually sitting down, addressing some of these concerns, and trying to figure out whether this is really a good fit at this time. The biggest and most popular program in Spooner is not on board. Why is that? I've not really heard.
What do you mean by that?
On this 4K program.
What program is not on board? This was a collaboration. They were all invited as part of the discussion.
I talked to Mrs. G, and she certainly wasn't getting answers on the curriculum that she desired. She thought that there was confusion in terms of curriculum, and that has not been discussed. So, are we just trying to do this to offset the revenue that we're losing from opting out? It would appear to me it's just a money thing. And there's been the chatter about curriculum, and also, again, the lack of clarity and the lack of any comprehensive presentations submitted to the board, other than what Chris has to say in his principal's reports, which aren't designed to specifically address the information on 4K programs.
We've had several meetings on this. We've had at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. I've attended all but one.
But
And
we
we've
don't-
had several
but we
people.
don't get reports on these meetings, and this is our stage. This is where the people come, and they want to know. They don't have access to all of these other meetings, even though
finish?
technically they do. As a practical matter, half the board members don't even go to these things. It all happens right here. And there's no information to look up in terms of 4K at this board level. And that's my problem, along with the other issues that I have. But of course, we're going to do it your way, and we're going to approve this, and it's going to go through again. And you're going to leave 50% of the population scratching their head going, yeah, you guys kind of just do what you want to do. I don't know that
We
much
saw
about
a
it.
need in the community. There was a survey put out, and there was a need in the community. I think Dr. Hack can talk about it, and Mr. Anderson can talk about the surveys that were done, the scores that came in of the kindergartners that came in, where they're leveled at, and the social skills that they are at. And there was I think Dr. Hack probably knows, can speak better than I about where they're coming in at and why we saw the need.
I can speak to the community. We've done a couple of community surveys. In 2009, we had about close to 70% saw a need for a 4-year-old kindergarten, and in 2012 survey, it was over 70% saw the need for the community saw the need for the 4-year-old kindergarten. It has been a subject of our strategic plans and investigating it again. This investigation of 4K this time started actually last school year, and we have made regular reports to the board at open board meetings. So I think the process has been pretty open, and board members have had opportunities to ask questions along the way if they had any questions. Mr. Anderson can speak more to test scores and social skills of students coming in.
Well, it's been a collaboration of community members. And when people say to me, because I've worked pretty hard on this, and I'm a little bit disappointed at what you're bringing forth right now, and I'm not real happy.
I'm not either.
No, I can tell. And the problem is, you want to get collaboration from all people in the community. You don't just want to push something down somebody. And the issue to this was, we wanted to get everybody's information. How is this process going to work? We have some people that have a lot of dedication to their own programs. We understand that. We don't want to come in and push somebody out. We want to get that information. We want to get them in. What curriculum we're going to use, we're going to all get together and we're going to decide what curriculum we're going to use. We have some ideas what we're going to use. We have some ideas what's going to help our kindergartens, what's going to help the rest of our school district and help our whole community. We have ideas. We'd certainly like to get everybody's input.
Then educate us at this level, in this setting, not in a back special committee meeting. We need it right here and now. And not really now even, because we're going to be ready to vote on it. I wanted it at last month's meeting and the month before that and the month before that. I don't think we got it.
Respectfully, Mr. Holland.
Hold it. Thank you.
Excuse me. This really is an aberrancy. I make jokes about this, which is unfortunate, but our only visitor is usually Joyce Rubish. She's usually the only one from the community that is here. So I guess I haven't seen a lot of community interest. Now, you're going to argue that if we're open and transparent, that more people will come to this meeting, but the agendas, and now Mr. Eichhorst has a chance to expand the agenda as he would like to see in the paper, will be posted and they are allowed to come. But really, we have not had a forum. And so that may seem like we're doing things secretively, but doing an open discussion with one person does seem a little restricting.
With all due respect, it doesn't matter if there's anybody in the crowd. This is where we make our record. And
Okay.
This is
All right.
a record, an official
Yes,
record of
and
what we do.
He does like to quote things verbatim.
This
so
is
he
how
will
we
have
do it.
6
Okay,
pages.
let's get back on
If
topic.
you don't make the record, you have nothing to rely on.
Okay, let's get back on our topic of 4K and our discussion of any questions or comments.
Is there a
Regarding
4K
4K.
board?
Yes.
Who's on it?
Alyssa Carlson.
Christie,
Wanda Carlson. Raddick, Mr. Anderson, Jim Stevens.
and the collaboration people, Mrs. G is actually on it.
No, she's not.
She was asked to be on it.
Well, being asked and being on it, they're not the same thing. I mean, I attended a meeting at Faith Lutheran back on, I think, like February 8th, where they had a bunch of questions, and it was said that a formal 4K board would be established by the end of February to answer the questions that could not be answered. And I guess my question right now is, does that board exist?
Yes. Yes, it does.
I mean, how come I've never seen the names of them? How come it's never been publicly noticed? How come, I mean, have they met? I mean, the collaboration group and the board, from what I was told at that meeting, are two different things. Isn't there supposed to be a governance board that was going to be made up of, I don't even remember what it said, but a formal board that would actually then negotiate the prices with the district on what the kids are, what you're going to pay per kid and whatnot. And again, my question is, does the board exist?
Does it? I
I'm
keep
asking
telling you it exists. It exists, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It
I mean,
exists.
has there been a formal publication that of who is on this board?
They've been open meetings. I don't think there's been a formal publication. They've been committee-type meetings.
Well, a committee is, a collaborative group is different than a board.
They've been collaborative group meetings.
But that's not the board that I was told was going to exist at the end of February.
I don't remember that meeting saying there was going to be a
Well,
board,
you,
but I did.
I don't know that you were there.
Yes, I was. I sat next to you.
In February?
On the little chairs.
No, that was in October. This was the meeting that when it was Dr. Hack, it was Mr. Anderson, Mrs. Carlton were representing the school, and then there were about
I missed that one.
25 people from Faith Lutheran asking questions, and they kept asking questions and didn't get the answers. And it was said, well, we'll get you the answers once our board has been established.
I apologize, I wasn't at that meeting.
And my question, well, who is on the board, and has Faith's questions been answered? And I've got Faith's letter that they sent to the school regarding why they are not collaborating with the school. It's addressed to the Spooner School Board. Has anybody here seen this on this board?
No.
If it's addressed to the board, why didn't the board see it? I got a copy because I'm a member of Faith Lutheran. I think that's the process that he's talking about. And then we see in the paper that they're signing kids up for something that hasn't been approved. What happens if we don't approve it tonight? You call those kids and say to their parents, oh, we're not going to do it?
2 weeks ago, when I had my first induction into this group, I complained that notices had gone out and we hadn't approved this program. And that's basic 101. I shouldn't have to argue with you about that. And yet, and Nate is right. It went out again. There was another notice that went out in the Spooner Advocate this week after we had our meeting less than 2 weeks ago about taking action and sending notices out before the board approves the program. Now you did it again. So how do you, if I don't bring that to your attention, it's going to continue happening. And even if I bring it to your attention, I fear that it may continue to happen. And that's just not right. You're violating 101. You can't push something to the public and tell them it's a go, register, it's going on September 1st, and we haven't even voted on it. And when you're even notified of that, and it makes the papers, and everybody's talking about it, and then you did it again. You do it again. That's disrespectful to the process, let alone me. I don't care about me. You can disregard what I say, but don't disregard the process, and don't disregard the process that's put in place to protect and to respect the people of this community who you're going to go to and ask for more money in the next couple of years. They don't want it, they don't need it, and it's the reason why they even considered having someone like me on the board. Because they know that what I was talking about is true. It's rules of good governance, and all I get is a bunch of pushback from you people. Why are you pushing back statements regarding good governance? It makes no sense. It makes no
I think it's
sense.
because we feel attacked and that we have not been doing our job. Most of us consider ourselves independent thinkers and intelligent, and we don't do this job for fame and glory. We do the job to try and get the best education we can for the children in the community. I am not an expert in education, so I rely on my experts to provide me with the information to make decisions. And that's what the board has been doing. Now, perhaps we have not been following process, but I still feel that we're not making these decisions in some secret smoke-filled back room. And, you know, when you come onto a board as a new board member and basically tell us that we have not been doing our job for the last however many years we've been on the board, yeah, it does raise our hackles and our defenses, and we will push back.
Well, you know, when the first thing that you do when I join is basically tell the people that you're going to do this and it's going ahead and we haven't voted on it. Now, come on. What is worse? What's worse that a board can do? Tell me. This is an initiative that's going to cost a significant amount of money. We're not talking about vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream here or some minor matter. We're talking about implementing something that hasn't been approved. What's more fundamental than that? I'm sorry, but in my
have any
world,
specific
in my
comments
world,
about 4K?
that doesn't happen.
Okay. We need to get back on track here. I'm sorry, but
It doesn't happen.
we understand your points. Are there any other discussion on 4K?
I guess I just want to ask if we have 30 students sign up. I know that our budget was based off of 70 people. We have 35 people that enroll in it. I guess what is the cost going to be?
Cost would decrease actually significantly. If we get down to that number, then a lot depends on the transportation costs, and that depends also on where the kids would be the other half of the day. A lot of our kids that signed up right now signed up with Head Start already, and so that would mean that they probably wouldn't need any new transportation. So our cost per child the first year would be significantly lower than what was projected.
So let me get this straight. So if they go to Head Start, they're going to go to Head Start, say, in the morning. And then if they're Head Start eligible for the federal program, they're going to be going across the hall and going to Head Start in the afternoon. So it's going to be Schooner, 4K mornings, Head Start afternoon, so they never go home till 4 o'clock.
Correct.
Now, weren't we just told 2 weeks ago that an all-day situation is not as good for the kids as a half-day stuff is? So it doesn't matter if it's Schooner or federal, it's still an all-day program, isn't it? And then what happens, I'm under the impression that one of these other collaborators is potentially going to have to add on to their building. Is that?
That is their decision.
But how can they be, how many kids do they, is this a long-term contract that they will be, what happens if they get 5 kids, 8 kids, and they add on to the building and then it gets pulled out from under them? Is that, that's their risk.
They know that's their risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're aware of that. Any other questions, Kyle?
No.
Any other questions? Yeah, all those in favor of the 4K? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next